Good evening. Welcome, everyone. This is the Town of Amherst Historic Preservation Commission meeting for June 10th, 2025. Can I get a roll call, please?
Manusko,
Got a new member. Start over.
Mancuso,
Present.
Ampleman,
Present.
Swartz,
Here.
Waterman Culpa, Hershey, Kenzie, Wright, Marinucci, Fidel here, Quinn, Odiata, and Howard.
All right, thank you. First item on our agenda is the minutes approval from our May 6th, 2025 meeting. If everyone could take a moment to look at that. This includes the special public hearing that we had for our Art Deco building.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Both.
Oh, same time, yeah.
I'll second that.
Second by Ms. Kenzie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. All right, our first item under new business is the budget expenditure for Preservation Day planning. I added this to our agenda. We received, after some meetings on our committee between Ms. Mancuso, Mr. Hershey, and myself, we had asked the Buffalo Niagara Heritage Village to give us some options for advertising. Just to kind of trigger your memory a little bit, we spent about $740 last year on advertising at the Amherst Bee. So we had thought this year to approach it in a different way. And BNHV recommended that we look at advertising with Buffalo Rising. So Dr. Stiver sent out an email to me a couple weeks ago with all the different options. There's 8 options, 8 packages that we could opt for. The lowest being $225 and the most expensive being $2,250. And so after we had a meeting about a week and a half ago on our committee, and I wanted to bring 2 options to this board to vote on because we need to take some action quickly here if we want to get this advertising up in time for Preservation Day on July 26th. So I will read package 7 and package 8. Those are the 2 that I'm targeting, and then we can deliberate, or excuse me, packages 6 and 7, I'm sorry. So package 6 for advertising on Buffalo Rising would include an on-site ad on their website with 50,000 impressions, social stories with direct link to our website to run 3 times, a preview article written in collaboration and shared across their social media channels, including in their daily digest email, and a custom spotlight email exclusively to be sent to their 21,000 subscribers. So that cost for that package is $1,350. Thus, the package number 7 is all of that and includes a billboard ad for 5 consecutive days to be run at the top of their website, and a 30-second to 1-minute video spotlight featuring our event. And that's $100 more. That's $1,450. So we had talked about bringing those before the board. There's obviously cheaper options if we feel that would be something to consider. I wanted to go for the article, the preview article written in collaboration and shared across their social media channels. That seems to grab a lot of attention from people. So that's why I targeted those 2. I'll open the floor for discussion.
As long as you're spending $1,350, going to the top of a website is kind of important. And for $100 more, right?
The $100 more gets you,
The billboard at the top of their website.
yeah, the billboard at the top and a 30-second to 1-minute video spotlight on their website.
And what would that be, a video spotlight of past preservation days? Or?
Whatever material we send to them.
Who produces the 1-minute spot?
didn't carry, but Kerry offered to do that.
They would like collaborate with them to create it.
And so can we just go through the budget then? So what
Yeah.
was the overall budget for the HPC and what has been spent or allocated thus far this year?
So I know our allocation is $3,000 annually. So far, I don't have an exact number. We've spent the money for the roundtable. That
I think that was less than 200.
Yep.
I think it was like 175.
Yeah.
Yep. That was it?
And I think that's it. We don't have any other. Oh,
And then do we have to pay for our own advertisement in the B for public hearings? Yes.
yep.
Okay.
Okay. So those three public hearings we had came out of that budget. Right? Yes. Gotcha. Okay.
Do you have a rough estimate about what those are? Sorry to put you on the spot. Okay, so we're probably under 200 for
200
those
for
total
that.
for the year so far.
We had 3 or 4.
3 or 4, okay. So
Yeah.
maybe we should allocate, like, just put aside almost 500 or whatever
Yeah.
till
because
the
we
end of
have-
the year.
Yep. That's right.
So if we took 500 on the conservative side there,
Mm-hmm.
or the liberal side, so,
You're about 700 so far.
yeah, so we're about 700. So
3,000.
we
Yeah,
could,
that leaves us
we could
2,300.
afford good advertising for. So is this the only means of advertisement that the HPC would be contributing for this year's event?
No. So BNHV would also create posters. And we would put them around the community billboards at libraries, community centers. And then we'd also got permission to install a few posters during Old Home Days.
So posters would typically be a couple $100 at the most.
Yeah, I don't think, we didn't talk to Carrie about that. I think I'd be willing to, pay for the printing cost. And I can't imagine it would be very expensive.
So that puts us at 850. And do we normally pay for our NPAC membership?
I was gonna say, are we all set with memberships or we're gonna account
By
for
the
them?
end of the year, we want to purchase our membership for next year.
Yep. And
Yeah,
that was
Oh, we had,
100 that
we had
was
the History
$100,000.
Museum one too.
yeah.
But that
We
was like
paid-
mid-year, so we
Oh,
shouldn't
okay.
have, that shouldn't
Yeah.
be due.
Oh, that was like in November, yeah.
Right. The
Yeah,
History
sorry.
Museum?
We got it into the. What?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yep.
So and you're saying the History
But
Museum
that was, I
member?
forgot that was like November or something.
And we didn't do Preservation Buffalo Niagara last year, right?
No.
No.
For this,
So we
yeah.
did, and we did an NPAC and we also did History Museum.
Yep.
Does everyone feel comfortable with doing those same two for 2006?
Yes.
Okay.
26.
And
Yeah.
so that would give us, if we had the $3,000 budget, roughly 700 for the roundtable and the public hearing notices.
Mhm.
2,300 remains. And if we did the 1450 package, we'd have about $850 left to spend on memberships.
Mhm.
Because there's no other New York State preservation conferences for this year.
Yep.
So, next year is a possibility again, depending on where they put it. So
Mhm.
the budget for Preservation Day may differ depending on if we have members that would like to attend that conference. And you did not use town funds to attend the conference this year?
Nope.
Okay. So, depending on what Brian says, it looks like, we
The
could
window's there.
afford it this year to try something new. I think we have had a brand new committee this year to try something new and to try to be more effective in the town. And I think we should support your efforts and to the maximum that we can by
Yeah.
allocating the funds that you've requested.
Because last year we did the stickers that were like, around 600 or something like that. Okay, yeah, so
We've done the stickers for a couple of years.
yeah, so I like trying something new.
So we're just replacing that with
We're just doing,
with
yeah.
posters and
posters and
Buffalo
online.
Rising.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, then, before we take a vote, why don't we wait till Mr. Fidel comes back with the budget? Do we want to
Brian, can I just ask one
Yeah,
follow-up question?
absolutely.
The plaques that we had last year, do those come out of our budget too typically?
They did, yeah.
Do we anticipate any more of those for this year?
No.
Okay. I just want to make sure we don't have any other expenses planned.
We're waiting on the one to be installed. That's right, just ask that
And
before we walked in.
I personally felt those were very cumbersome for the staff, planning staff, so I thought it would, I recommended, let's hold off for a year or two before we, before we suggest
Yeah.
more plaques.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure we weren't spending encumbered money on other stuff, you know?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking.
Yep.
You want to go to the old business item number 1 then, and we'll circle back to new business?
Do we
item
have to
number-
adjourn, or can we just leave it
Table?
table open?
Well, let's just adjourn it, right?
Well, but
Okay.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to table this item pending discovery of our budget until later in the meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries 7-0.
and then we can reopen it, right?
Yep. Okay. We'll move on to old business. Our first item under old business is 4511 to 4521 Main Street, also known as the Art Deco building. We had wrapped up a public hearing at our previous meeting. And after a period of due diligence, I feel that we can make a recommendation to the town board for local landmark designation. Discussion?
She took ads out of the planning budget, so, or the public hearing notices, so you still have 2,750.
Oh,
Great.
So then at the end of the year, if we have a surplus, can we just pay for those out of our budget by transferring the funds back to planning?
The advertising.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
All right, well, do you want to carry on with this item under old business, or do you want to go back?
I'd like to revisit the new business budget expenditure.
All right, you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to
Reopen?
reopen the discussion for new business item number 1, budget expenditure for Preservation Day advertising.
And I'll make a second. All in favor? Aye, motion carries 7-0, reopened.
then
so
I'd-
what was the budget? I'm sorry, what Brian said.
So it was 3,000, just, all we've done is roundtable, food and beverage this time, so we didn't actually have to pay for the public hearing notices.
Okay, so did you say 2,700?
Yeah.
2,750 is left on the budget right now. And I'm sorry, who made the motion on that? Because we were trying to fix the screen. Kate,
Do you want us to wait?
as long as I just have it recorded. I mean, it's on the recording, but, so Kate made the first, and then who made the second?
Jen?
Got it.
Oh, no,
No.
sorry.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So then we still have 1,300 left.
After that.
After, yeah, depending on what level we think we should spend.
So is there any other forms of advertising that your committee was discussing beyond Buffalo Rising? I mean,
Yes.
it looks like we have enough money to request the bee sticker again too.
We discussed the sticker, thought cost was
The bang for the buck didn't materialize in the past couple times. We also thought about advertising with Step Out Buffalo. We'd inquired with their expertise between their staff and Carrie, and thought that Step Out Buffalo was not the right audience, and that Buffalo Rising was more of the audience we were trying to cater to. Because Step Out, I don't know if anyone uses social media, Step Out Buffalo usually, that call when they like magnify or
Highlight?
highlight their,
Like with the reels and stuff?
yeah. Step Out Buffalo, but they have not been focusing on cultural entities lately. They've been mostly doing private businesses,
Restaurants and stuff,
Restaurants?
yeah.
restaurants, some shops and things. So, based on their expertise, they thought we should go in this direction.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve the 1450 expenditure for Preservation Day advertising with Buffalo Rising.
Mary Lou Mancuso, I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, everybody. I will let the staff at Buffalo Niagara Heritage Village know, and then we'll get to work right away. Yep. Yep. I have a rough list here, but I'm sure when we contract with them, there'll be a more defined list. Will do. Sorry, I'm just writing my note. Thank you.
What's that? If someone had taken the spot we were hoping for last year already.
That's right. Okay, so we'll go back to item number 2. It's under old business, 4511 to 4521 Main Street, known as the Art Deco Building. As I stated, we had a public hearing on May 6th, which was closed after a couple people made comments. We feel that, or excuse me, I feel that the record is as complete as we're going to make it. And I would like to make a motion to recommend that 4511 to 4521 Main Street be designated as a local landmark. After a period of due diligence, 4511 to 4521 Main Street meets local landmark criteria 121.6A1 and 121.6A3 in our statute. The property was built in 1932, and the property is identified in the 1998 intensive level survey, the 2011 reconnaissance survey, and the September 2017 intensive level survey as a significant Amherst property.
I just had a question before we act on this. The property owner had,
Well,
oh, sorry.
So the motion hasn't been seconded yet, so that was a motion, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so.
Can we, we don't have to second before, we can answer
should-
questions.
We should second and then have discussion.
Okay.
So I will second the motion. Now
Alright,
it's open
and
up for discussion.
And now we open for discussion before voting. Yep, go ahead.
So the owner had, offered an olive branch in a way to limit the designation to the front facade. Have we given any consideration to that, or is that even a possible approach? I guess I'm not too familiar, but is that something that we could consider, or does it have to be an all or nothing on the property as a whole?
To our understanding, it is a property that is designated, not a facade of a building that is designated.
And I think we talked about that too with the Gettsville property. It wasn't just like, it was the parcel in total, not just like the building itself. So this would be the building as a whole rather than just a facade.
But I would like to remind everyone that there are character defining features of buildings, and that is what people sitting at this dais rely upon to inform them whether something is an important historical feature of the building or not. And I think that this board has a track record with reviewing certificates of appropriateness of using those character defining features to give an applicant approval when those features are not impacted per their request of certificate of appropriateness for a modification.
Understood, but if he just wanted to do something to the rear of the building or the side or the roof, he would still have to come for approval. And as opposed to where if it was just limited to the front facade, which I know is impossible, I think what he was getting at is just avoiding a layer of bureaucracy, right, to do stuff to the building. So that's that's the only point I want to get across here is,
So it's items that require a building permit to make alterations to. So if there was a simple repair in kind or an item that did not require a building permit, it wouldn't come before this board anyway.
I believe that would be more administrative at the planning board level or the
Yes.
planning department level.
And I'll cite an example. I had the property owner come to the building department with a repair in kind to be made to the water tower building. That is a locally landmarked property. They brought it to my attention and I signed off on it because they demonstrated that they were going to make the repair in kind with in-kind materials. They gave me a scoping list. And so I authorized it without having to come to the board.
I'll turn this on. So the Art Deco, maybe for the benefit of at least me, can somebody describe what that means? And then the side of the building that the owner was concerned about, is that not consistent with Art Deco? Is that why it comes up as a question on that person's part?
Sure. So I would say typical of commercial buildings of that era. When it was constructed, the original owner had spent the resources on constructing or using fine materials and nicer materials on the front of the building rather than the sides. The sides are typically built all the way to the property line. And in order to meet fire code, usually they were made of brick, just like you see. I'm not sure what the property adjacent to it looked like at the time it was built. I think we've always known it was a service station of some kind. I don't know if there was a building there adjacent to the site or not when the Art Deco building was constructed. But I would say, I don't know.
I think that it has solid brick sides because it is not on a corner, and therefore there was always the possibility of another building abutting it with the zoning setbacks as they are. The service station, it seems through our research, was always some type of service station, but I'm not sure if there was any type of infill in there, or possibly when this was built, it was designed so that if there was infill there, then it would not block any natural light. Very, very typical of more urbanized areas for commercial buildings that maximize their sites with their buildings.
See a couple of people thumbing through. Does anyone else have any questions or discussion?
There's a very good, a very good definition of Art Deco on the historical narrative, so that answers my question there.
Thanks.
Yep,
Sorry
thanks.
about that. Yeah, you did ask that. I'm sorry. I should have stated that. Thank you.
Yeah, page 19, I had written that up, so that kind of goes through. Do we need to go through that again for anybody, or are we good?
I'm good.
And the period of significance is when the building was built.
Yep.
So I guess to recap, if it was landmarked, the property owner would then require coming to us for certificate of appropriateness, assuming it was something that would require a permit, first of all. And then to Kate's point, obviously, whatever that work that was proposed would be reviewed upon its merit and impact on the Art Deco elements, because, as we said, we have to designate the property, not specific things on the building itself. So I don't think that is like a game.
Well, I just
breaker.
want to be clear, it's not only things that require a permit, but is an exterior alteration according to what our statute says.
Okay.
So there are specific guidelines in our statute that identify things that an owner would need to come to the HPC for, with a certificate of appropriateness for review.
All right, would anyone like to amend anything or add anything to the motion?
Or to the record.
Or to the record? Nope.
As a comment, the description then of the building on page 19 is quite complete, and that's the basis to judge any certificate of appropriateness at a later date. So this looks well presented here.
I try.
I would,
Very good.
right,
Yes.
and I would say that is an accurate record of what makes this a historic property.
We're actually very, very lucky that we have this building in the town. And to be an Art Deco example, which is so rare in Amherst, and seeing the rehabilitation drawings, knowing that the original pieces are underneath, and at any time, someone could expose them, and we could have a real,
Gem?
a real complete example of Art Deco instead of a partially hidden one at this time. I think it just provides opportunity for future caretakers of this property that I think we should celebrate and give them a roadmap for.
All right, should we take a roll call, please? Shall the recommendation be approved?
Mancuso,
I approve.
Amplement,
Opposed?
Swartz,
Approve.
Waterman Culpa,
Approve.
Hershey,
Approve.
Kenzie,
Approve.
Wright.
Approve.
All right, thanks, everyone. Motion carries 6-1 for approval. All right. On to item number 3. Under old business, this is 46 to 58 Gettsville Road, also known as the Arthur Hedstrom Estate. This is an item that we had public hearing in April, and it was closed during that session. The items pertaining to this item are located on page 35 of your packet. 34 and 34 to the end, excuse me. Okay. So similar to the last one, I would like to make a motion to recommend that 46 to 58 Gettsville Road, also known as the Arthur Hedstrom Estate, excuse me, be recommended for local landmark designation. After a period of due diligence, we have found that 46 to 58 Gettsville Road meets local landmark criteria 121.6A number 2 and number 3. The property was built in 1904, which is also the era of significance. And this property was identified in the 1998 intensive level survey, 2011 reconnaissance survey, and September 2017 intensive level survey. Do I have a second?
Haley Wright, seconds.
Haley beat me to it.
Seconded by Ms. Wright. I'd like to open for discussion before voting.
I'd just like to note that I feel the package is extremely well put together, including the building structure inventory report prepared by Kathy Howe in 1998. This is a property that probably should have been nominated long ago. And I'm just very pleased that Haley took it upon herself to remind the town of the importance of this estate through its history as well as its architecture.
I concur. Very well done.
We found some online articles pertaining to this. They're in here. Majority of this package is from the structure inventory form. The features were very well written. We have quite a few photographs as well. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add, change, discuss?
So the main, I guess, the portions that are being proposed for historic, 1904, is that the date of when they were built? All of the buildings under,
No.
But they're identified in the packet of which outbuildings were built at a later date. And so they can be judged upon that if this property were nominated and a certificate of appropriateness came before the Historic Preservation Commission.
so how many properties are, individual buildings are discussed here or covered?
I believe there's 2 detached garages identified
And
in the main house.
pool house, which is gone, I think.
Pool house still there,
No.
right? So it's the main house.
2 detached garages, 1949, 1954.
Mm-hmm. 1954, did you say, Brian?
Yeah. And the interior was remodeled in 1949.
But the interior is of no consequence for this application.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, they're on the parcel, yeah. He's asking if the condos that were built in the late 90s, early 2000s would be included. But
They're non-contributing.
yeah, we wrote them as non-contributing to this nomination.
So if they're non-contributing, if anyone were to do work on those, would they require a certificate of appropriateness or no? Because they're not.
I think that has to be defined, but I would say no. Although when the owner goes to obtain a permit, the address will trigger.
Trigger it?
Yep.
But
So
it
that, I
should be
think that's
pretty
a
straightforward.
administrative review.
Mhm.
They're blue rated, so I'm assuming the entire property is blue rated, right? Was it blue rated?
The
in
parcel.
survey?
The parcel, right.
The
And I
parcel.
don't think we can.
So if there was a
chop
demo
suey.
permit, they'd probably get referred here for a demo referral.
Mhm.
I mean, like any other building in
Well, I think if, like, let's say they wanted to demolish one of the new builds on the parcel, I would ask that they provide a demolition protection plan you know, in order to maintain the historic character. Does anyone have anything else? Nope. Right.
I think the application is clear on what's being nominated
Yeah.
on the property and what's not.
Yes, and we'll have to clearly define that in public hearing as well. All right, can we take a roll call on the motion? Shall the motion be approved or denied?
Mancuso,
Approved.
Ampleman,
Approve.
Swartz,
Approved?
Waterman Culpa, Hershey,
Approved.
Kenzie,
Approve.
Wright.
Approve.
All right, thank you, everyone. Motion carries 7-0. So now that we have these two recommendations, they shall go to the town board, where they will schedule a public hearing. And we ask that we be notified when those public hearings occur so we can prepare materials to present to the town board. Thank you. From us? Sure. Request public hearing be set. That goes through the clerk, town clerk's office? With assistance from the planning department? Thank you. Because now this will make 3 recommendations from our board. All right, I will draft something. Thank you. Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
Everything for the public record.
Understood. All right, great. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. All right, item number 4, unless anyone else has any other commentary afterwards, I don't believe so. The items are both closed. Item number 4, tax exemption law. I know Ms. Wright had brought this to our attention. I don't know, is no report?
No new news.
Nope, that's okay. That's all right. You know, we can always leave it on, and as things come, we can discuss it.
Can I ask what we're hoping or what's
Yeah.
intriguing or?
I think it's just an incentive if your building is locally landmarked, especially since, you know, the pocket of Snyder isn't within a qualifying census tract. Homeowners can't, or, you know, a lot of building owners can't take advantage of tax credit. So this would be an incentive for a 10-year kind of like freeze in your property taxes. So it kind of dwindles down each year. I'm basing this off of the city of Buffalo, Orchard Park, and Clarence, who also have this in their laws. But just another incentive, especially since a lot of people can't take advantage of certain tax credits within our area.
Okay, so would that be a pilot program?
Dan, could you speak up a little?
Thank you, so much.
I don't want to test the acoustics, so, yeah, we just did one of these with the accessory dwelling units, similar type of project or program. I would suggest that you put together a presentation, outline how it works, give an example of how the exemption would work and how it might affect a given property, just an example so they can understand. Then be prepared to make a presentation to the town board at a public hearing.
Okay.
After which they'll make a determination. So we can help you with that process to figure out who's gonna be the lead on that, and we'll make a decision to get together and figure it out.
So it sounds like a subcommittee should be formed to explore creating a presentation along with our liaison to the town board.
Yeah, I think you're asking for relief from taxes. So I think it's important to be able to demonstrate not only the need, but the impact.
Justification.
Albeit, yeah, it may not be all that significant in the total, it's still another relief from tax, and the town board will be interested to know how that would affect tax base and individual taxes.
Yep.
What towns did you say have this already in place?
So it's City of Buffalo, it's Clarence, and Orchard Park.
Are there people you'd want to work with on a committee?
Whoever would like to help. I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward, and since there are already like pre-written laws, we can also use those as examples. I can contact someone through the City of Buffalo, which I already have, and he wasn't super clear on like case studies that we could go off of, but I can pick his brain a little bit more on that.
Okay.
Because it would be nice to have like some before and afters and kind of like just show their exemption over the past 10 years on that as well.
Well, like if you were able to show, if we were to provide a property tax break,
Mhm.
but the assessed value increased or,
Which
or something to
is-
that effect, that
which is
because
yeah.
of preservation.
I think that would be an endeavor we'd want to pursue.
Yeah, and I know of an article too that has done studies on like a 30 to 60% increase in your property value.
Do you know when the City of Buffalo instituted this?
No, I can find that out.
I'm just wondering if it was before or after the place economics study that was done proving that landmarking increased the property values.
Yep, that's a good question. I'll ask that.
I think the other thing we may want to do is kind of compile a list of the properties we're talking about here, so that it's obvious to the town board essentially what they're doing and which properties are affected by that.
And whether it includes commercial and residential.
Yeah.
So a little bit of study, probably put together a proposal. Right?
Thanks. Well, I mean, let me know, let us know if you need assistance. Because then we can schedule a working session with Angela. I think that would be the first step to, figuring out if this is worthwhile to pursue.
Change the whole thing. We got a lot of public hearings for accessory dwelling units about the validity of accessory dwelling units, which was not in the context of the local law that we were trying. So that kind of got lost there. The accessory dwelling unit one has a 10-year sunset provision. It doesn't look like, just in this quick summary, so this one, so that's something else that we're going to be thought about. But I think this is kind of exciting. And the other thing I would talk more is that it doesn't, in the summary, it doesn't specifically say that it's landmark, or if people can just call their property historic, do something historic to it, or, make it look more historic, whatever they want, take the tax exempt without getting the landmark status. And I think we really want to just some things that we want to make sure that, and it may be in the actual, like, what do they call it, model law that they put out there. I don't know if the law is but just a couple things. Just thinking in terms of presentation. Still sometimes get lost, and nuance gets lost, but it's really like, we're talking about the increase in value attributable to this. We're not saying that they're going to be tax-free forever, because that is how it comes across.
That's a,
Has to be, right, has to be worthwhile.
I mean,
Yep.
That's just the increase attributability. I felt like Lori Stillwell got beat up unnecessarily when she tried to make it pretty clear and it didn't. But then people got into who could have an accessory dwelling unit. We're like, well, that's not this. So I'm just trying to think about where that goes, but this is a longer conversation. I think it's an exciting option. I didn't know it existed. I'd also be careful. We all know how some of them burning down their historic property in the city of Buffalo, and I don't think Clarence is very active in their landmarking. So, you know, some of those type things, but regardless, we want to encourage, right, part of the bylaws for why we have the historic preservation commission, encouraging value and, you know, pride in our historic things in the town. So
It's on the first page.
yeah, and it increase people wanting to get landmark status for their own property.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
I think,
where we're at. Yeah,
yeah, that's like kind of what I was thinking about, is getting people excited about, like, this is an opportunity that you could take advantage of. And we're not just trying to, like, you can never change anything in your home. This is like an exciting work to be done on your property.
Yeah, just another.
Yeah.
But I think it's worthwhile.
great.
Yeah, and I mean, I had been like a real big proponent of that, because I really feel like accessory dwelling units are exciting for people in the town and caregivers, especially those older parents and especially adult children. And it really, like, we knew what we were saying, but it didn't feel like it came across as clearly, so learning experience to leave with that kind of clarity in the hopes.
Great.
It is, right, it was like, you're still gonna pay taxes on your property, the value of your property is just.
Mhm.
It's supposed to be under substantial work to your, like, rehabbing your historic home.
Yep.
So we'd have to, right. We'd probably have to define it in, maybe in
Yeah.
monetary terms.
You know,
Mhm. Just a suggestion, maybe reaching out to the state and see if they know of other places in the state other than in Erie County that have taken advantage of this.
There's also, I think, Ithaca. I asked Fran about this, so I have asked her already to compile that list for sure.
Thank you.
It's exciting. Great. All right. Item number 5 is Preservation Day 2025, which we've covered quite a bit. Does anyone else have any questions about it? Like I said, it's July 26th.
July 26th, you said?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Get our advertising going for it. Yeah, we're meeting on Monday. We have our committee meeting on Monday next week. 16th. Yeah.
Is it going to be a similar sort of setup as last year with panelists? Or giving presentation?
limited. So we limited the
Okay,
amount of
great.
speakers to 3. Last year, I think we had 6 or 7. And they ran kind of concurrently, ran into each other. So we spaced them out more this year, cut it down to 3, and kind of simplified the programming a bit, just to have more, like, be more focused on the Buffalo Village, Niagara Heritage Village itself, turning 50, by giving tours and things like that. I would also, Norm's going to bring his tent. As per usual, like I'll probably be sitting under the tent, talking with people as they pass about preservation.
What time would you like volunteers there?
So the first speech starts at 10, so I would say 9:30 to be safe. I don't feel like there's that much setup. We're not doing that full setup we did in years past. Carrie might need help, staging pamphlets and obviously putting the tent up, moving the tables around and things like that.
Did we, sorry, Kate, did we want to put together some maybe like little flyers about our commission and, the properties that are locally landmarked, a little bit about us, like the rest of our schedule and everything?
We do have flyers.
Yeah, we have.
Okay.
They're very
I have
nice
some of them.
flyers.
I don't know. We had a big pile of them. I don't know where the rest of them went. It was a highlight of all the landmark properties in a
perfect.
fold out.
Oh, I don't think I saw that last year. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we should probably invite the HPCs, so when you have something that's emailable.
Yep.
I can send it out to our growing list.
Great idea. Yeah. Well, I'll get into that in a second. Yep. All right. Does anyone else have any other questions about Preservation Day? We were going to have music. She was going to put speakers and music in the gazebo. Yeah, I think she was going to print out coloring sheets and things like that for families so they could go and take a rest. The games will be located in that area, so they'll have some shade to utilize under that, right, the side pavilion. Yeah. Yep. Yep. All right. Yeah, once we have the poster and hopefully they can work on that, this week, next week, I'll ping them. I think we asked them if they could start working on it last time, so I'll ping them again to see if they've got a draft. But otherwise, we don't meet in August, right?
We don't meet in July.
We don't meet in July, yeah. So this is our last regular meeting before Preservation Day.
Oh, wow.
Yep. All right, yeah, good idea with the emailing the other HPCs. I will get you something if you don't mind sharing with the contacts. Thank you. And the event is running from 10 to 3.
It's free admission that day.
Yeah, free admission. I think part of their hope is to, get some memberships that day. So that's a good thing for them. I know that's where I got my membership the first time I went.
Me too.
Yep. All right, so item number 6 is training and website, but I'll also ask to discuss the roundtable. So I thought the roundtable was a nice success. We had different people from the last time. We thought we would have a more robust audience. I'm not sure what happened.
Apparently it was the same night as Preservation Buffalo
was the same
Niagara
night as
Awards.
The
So-
Preservation Awards, yes. So we will look to avoid duplicating that next time, I think, if we can. I don't know. It just stuff happens. Yep.
But I thought the conversation was extremely good, and I think we have made some new contacts in other communities to bounce proposals off of and learn from. One in particular seemed light years ahead of us, and so I feel like we can keep asking for advice and hopefully just expand our offerings as well.
Who, what other,
Is it the city,
yeah.
the city of North Tonawanda?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
who, was the mayor here or no?
No, it
Okay.
was Kristen Derby. And then just hearing from Lewiston and,
Lancaster.
and Lancaster.
Was Grand Island here again?
No.
Yeah.
And someone was trying to come, but they were in the wrong
I
location.
saw the email.
They were in the wrong location.
I felt bad for them.
So maybe a follow-up reminder next time to those that RSVP'd. The list was quite long, so I just, was like, okay, great, everybody's coming. And I'd gotten a couple of cancellations at the last minute, so, yep. So I thought it was a great success, and I recommend that we continue to do that, maybe twice a year.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
said in the fall sometime.
Yeah, fall, winter.
Yeah.
Us,
Mhm.
help them.
Yep. No worries. It's one thing to be given, the rules from the state. It's another thing to see how people are enacting those rules and just get pure advice on things. And I just don't know what other setting that would happen in
Yeah.
without, just putting the leadership of these commissions in one room and being able to just talk openly and honestly. It's really great.
Towns work differently with the commissions within the town, whether they're more independent, working on their own. Some of the government officials are right within the commission on one of the towns, if I remember right.
But did anyone talk about designating parts of buildings or sites and not other parts of the building?
You need to look at the state's guidance on that, and I think you're confusing a preservation easement, which is a tax break for designated buildings at the state and national register, or possibly local level. That's something I dealt with when I was the director of the Landmark Society of the Niagara Frontier, the predecessor to Buffalo Preservation Niagara. And the not-for-profit was gifted the easement of the Guarantee Building. And therefore, they received a reduced tax rate for their putting together a preservation covenant for that building. So in perpetuity, it would be protected. So,
Yeah.
there's different types of programs. And because we're a certified local government, a CLG, our mandate is very clear, and our statute is clear about being a site. So, something without a building. In other municipalities, there's interior landmarks. There's site features, which could be like, hitching posts, or, something as simple as a sidewalk stamp of a famous builder who poured the concrete at the time, versus a building, a property. And like a historic district where you have a collection of contributing buildings and non-contributing buildings, they work in tandem with one another. And if you were in a district and you are a non-contributing building, you still need to prove that your building doesn't impact the contributing buildings in a negative way. So like a district, a property, I guess, could be seen as a district, a mini district, and you want to, it's this commission's responsibility to make sure that other things on the property that are done don't negatively impact the historic cultural asset that was previously nominated. And I think that's why it's important that our research, thanks to this commission's work, is very thorough in describing what is important to the cultural resource that we are reviewing for a certificate of appropriateness for a modification to that building. And I think because the state mandates that we have certain professions identified on this commission, we're one of the only groups, I think, in the entire state where you're mandated to have certain professions on this commission of experts to judge. They don't do that on a zoning board. They don't do that on a planning board. It's the historic preservation commissions have a group of experts that are ready to decipher, is this going to have a negative impact on a property, on a historic property, or is this a change that will not negatively impact it, and the owner's proposition can move forward without stopping it. So I don't know. I feel passionate that the state has set up a really good law that all municipalities follow, even, some tweak it with minor revisions. But they've set up this model law that allows us to have the expertise to review these certificates. And I think that, you know, we have to trust that the expertise that sit on these boards can make those judgment calls when something is flagrantly not, you know, going to negatively affect a building. So, I mean, if the particular owner that you're referencing was talking about, you know, the side of the building. Well, we heard at our roundtables, and it's something that I would like to pursue in multiple communities. You know, they've put up mural standards. So maybe a mural is what he was talking about. I don't know. But there are ways that you can treat murals to be more historically sensitive to the buildings by putting the mural on panels that could be removed when the mural has met its life, rather than painting onto the brick wall that can only be basically sandblasted off of a building, which would then, you know, damage the brick itself. So I think there's things that, you know, we're learning as time goes on about different methods and treatments that, you know, we can then act as the expert to advise an owner if they come in with something that would be detrimental to a building. So I think we want to continue to grow in what our statute says, and try to make it less onerous by maybe some more administrative reviews, and that's something, you know, some of us are looking at. But also to be able to say, no, you shouldn't paint directly onto your building. Have you thought about using panels? And this is the new way of doing things, because we're doing our homework and we're getting educated and we're doing our continuing education. We have that expertise to share with the owners that they may not necessarily have thought of or been advised to that point. So, I mean, the side of the building may be a blank side of the building, but we could still give that expertise on how to move forward with that without destroying brick.
Understood. But again, you have to put yourself in the shoes of these property owners. And this also goes back to the bank. You had two vehement oppositions to this, and now we're adding these layers of regulation that are in perpetuity. When I'm dead, when everyone on this board is dead, we're putting a lot of faith in the future boards to follow through on what we're saying here today. That's the only point. It's the only reason I would vote no on those two buildings is just process. So you really have to be convicted that these are historic and it's worth adding these layers of regulation to them. And in some cases, I think that's true. And then just in the two of the bank and this one, I just didn't. And it's just my personal opinion. And that's all that was. But I think there just has to be a check to that. Like, we have to value the input of a property owner who has no interest of really preserving any part of that building or pursuing tax credits, from what I gathered from the Art Deco owner. And then the bank, obviously, seems to me that they're a little concerned about tying up this entire site. I agree that those are very valid concerns from a property owner's perspective. That's all.
And because we don't take property owners, at the time of landmark designation recommendation to the authoritative board, in this case, the town board, it is not within our purview to take consideration from the property owner. That's not how the statute is written.
According to the statute.
And
That's right.
And, you know, the state can take away your CLG status for moving improperly in that direction, first with a warning and then taken away. They've done it to other municipalities in our region. And I think we need to remember what our purpose is here for and why this commission was created. It's about the preservation of cultural and architectural resources in a community. And those cultural and architectural resources through the town's history have had many owners. And our job is just to make sure that they don't lose those character defining features that made them unique or important to our cultural or architectural history as the town ages. So we can't ask an owner, do you want it or not? During a public hearing, our purpose is to collect evidentiary documentation about whether the record is accurate. And oftentimes these owners and their representatives have given us amazing information that we wouldn't have otherwise known to add to that record, to give us the information for our experts to determine if something is going to be detrimental or if it's of no consequence and it should move forward when they submit their certificate of appropriateness. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's an important process, the public hearing process,
fear
but it's
though
not
that we're
for-
using this board as a tool to, I want to say this in a nuanced way, but prevent demolition of potential buildings that may or may not be marginally historic is my fear. And I think those buildings are like they have historic attributes, some, but on the whole, I don't think there's a lot of value in historic, aspects of some of those. And so I was just trying to find a creative way to preserve what we think is historic and maybe loosen up some of the chains on other parts of the property that may or may not be. And that's all I was trying to do. I understand there's a process, but processes can change, and this board will change. And so I just want to be weary of what we do that are going to have ramifications for, again, like I said, since we're gone. So I would like the record to show that when this goes to the board, in case there's a question on that, like why did that guy vote no? You know what I mean? That's just explained there is all. So that's all.
Just two things, if I can jump in. One, I think we've seen in the past year, 2 years, 24 months, potentially historic properties come down, be demolished. We had one blue rated. We had one that should have been blue rated. And it has been made clear from public hearing that the residents adjacent to these properties feel that they're threatened. Not saying they are and they're not, but after looking through all the evidence and voting, this is where our board stands. And I think the threat, because other buildings adjacent to these ones have been demolished, we are losing the character defining features of this town. I think that to Kate's point, it's part of our charge. Number two, the preservation easement, it's not in our statute because we don't have a tax exemption law.
No.
So look, maybe when we go down that road, that's something we can consider. Right now, it's not in the statute. Like you said, yes, things can change with more information. So if we had a tax exemption law, like other towns do, maybe that could become part of it.
But we have seen projects that have had pilots because of their historic designation, as well as then the rehabilitation of use that were going into the property.
Yeah.
So the IDA has dealt with that, and I think that you could see our board as a mechanism to aid the IDA in recognizing the value of our historic landmarks. And, those are places that can be rehabilitated for uses that they desire. And those are, projects that may need exterior renovations in order to, be able to be fully realized in their rehabilitation that, that could have tax relief.
And I would say that there are properties in the city of Buffalo that almost directly match like the Art Deco building that have received that. And the green code was written as such to try and aid the rehabilitation of those properties. And we've seen that in some of those commercial buildings in the city of Buffalo. So it takes a process and time, but this is where we are now with our statute. So
thank you, Haley, for moving forward with the tax exemption. And if you need help, just holler and a working group can be formed.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for the discussion, guys.
yeah, thank you.
Just add a couple comments. What Jeff brings up, I've thought often on this, regardless of the powers given to any community by I forget the federal organization that established historic preservation. But anyway, like a lot of these things, at some point, there has to be an appreciation of the general public to back this, to keep it going. And so the nomination of buildings has to be done with discretion, just because I mean, how many buildings can we, in a community, nominate as historic without being oversaturated? There's that's another consideration, not for this committee, but it's our responsibility to carry out the historic regulation as laws wrote here, but
like I think, studies have shown, and I think that's probably the precipice for doing something like a tax exemption law, is that it does increase property when you use the correct materials, and renovate and restore original properties.
there are historic buildings that generate money by attracting visitors.
Sure, of course. All right, nice discussion, everyone. Thank you. All right, we've reached our miscellaneous section of our agenda. Does anyone else have anything miscellaneous to discuss? Nope, hearing none. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Mary Lou Mancuso, I second it.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, everyone. Good night.